You are listening to The Radiator here at Big Heavy World, and now begins Rocket Shop Radio Hour. I'm your host, Abby BK, and with us tonight we have Jason Baker. Jason, how are you?
I'm doing great, Abby. It's good to see you here.
Yeah, long time no see.
Well, we just saw each other at the Lily Pad, actually.
Yeah, literally at
Shout out to the Lily
Pad,
event. The newest open mic in town.
Totally, yeah. And we were discussing off air before we began the show that the last time you were here was in 2021.
March of 2021, that's correct. Deep in the heart of the pandemic.
Yes. And you've been very busy since then as we look at your discography on Spotify and whatnot. So you've released numerous EPs. So take us through all that you have been up to since we've seen you last.
Wow. Okay. So I did make a list.
Yes.
So folks know.
We love that you made a list.
So here's the thing. Okay. So in 2021, when I was here, I played pandemic album stuff. And the two pandemic albums I made were The Lighthouse and then an album with my mentor, Rick Polari, who I do a radio show with, which is broadcast now on Folk Music Notebook every month. Called Folk Talk, and so he and I have had some number of adventures since that time. But I also released a lot of solo material. So I released four song EPs of original music: Liberty in 2021, The Dream of Peace in April 2022. I've Come to Set You Free in October of 2022. And then Sing a Song just this last September 2023. I also have released a 5-song EP of traditional folk songs called 10,000 Miles Away, and it features accompaniment on the long neck banjo. That was released in October, and I learned to play the long neck banjo. I'll get to that in a second. That's one of the things I did in the time. With Rick, I also formed the Folk Talk Trio with him and Patty Shannon, a musician who lives here locally but also plays out in California, is a very busy bass player and singer. And we released a live EP, Live at the Underground being a studio down in Randolph. We released that in 2021, so that was released again right after the time I was here, and played a bunch of gigs, including we played Cafe Lena in Saratoga Springs for a family sing-along show this past last spring. But our individual schedules were just too much for all of us to put together a lot of dates, so we have disbanded at this time. We'll see about the future. I also, during this time, attended songwriting retreats run by Dar Williams. They're called Writing a Song That Matters. And I attended 3 or 4 times and began the practice of really workshopping songs with other writers a lot heavier than I had been previously. And so that includes that group of people who you keep in touch online, but also other groups that, again, during the pandemic, you got to find a lot more online community. So that was pretty cool. Unfortunately, the local Burlington Songwriters Group has not, it sort of stopped meeting because of COVID and really has not taken back up. But getting in touch with other communities has been, including of course the people from Writing a Song That Matters retreats and the People's Music Network. Those retreats also gave me an opportunity to do something I hadn't done, which was co-writing songs with people. Only had really had one co-writer previous to that, and we never really worked at the same time. So this gave me a sort of safe and an environment with coaches and everything. So it ended up being a great experience and a lot better than I thought it would be. And those songs, I ended up this past September, that was the EP, the theme of the EP that I released in September was mostly co-writes and those retreats. During that time, from September to September of 2022 to 2023, I also participated in a year-long apprenticeship to learn the Pete Seeger style of banjo playing from Rick Polari, my mentor. And we were supported by the Vermont Folklife's Traditional Arts Apprenticeship Program. They gave us a small grant. And he taught me to play this thing, which I'm holding here, which is a long neck banjo, which was invented by Pete Seeger. And this also resulted in me, as a sort of proof of concept, a graduation, if you will, recording a 5-song EP of traditional tunes, with one song being actually a traditional tune with original lyrics. And I'll be playing that song tonight. And so that's a lot of stuff
A
that
lot.
happened since I've been here. And I've switched, one of the things is, you might notice, is I switched from recording albums to releasing EPs. And that is on the advice of a songwriting or artist coach, if you will, who I got a free 15-minute consultation call, and we ended up hitting it off. I won't mention his name, but he's a wonderful guy if he's out there listening, and thank you for all the advice. We ended up talking for like an hour and a half. We're two old guys from Jersey, so it was just a fun talk. And he gave me some good advice. It was just saying, you're writing a lot of good material, but no one's hearing it because it's on an album. No one's going to listen to it because you're not known. And so getting to be comfortable with A, not being known, B, workshopping songs and picking sort of the cream of the crop and leaving other things, really thinking about what you want to put out there. And that's become more the keystone for me, looking for really great song ideas and saying things that I really feel I have to say for some reason or another.
Yeah. Well, you've been mighty busy. So I would love to know more, since you're obviously must be writing all the time. What does your typical songwriting process look like? Like, how frequently do you feel like you're inspired and sitting down and writing something new?
It's interesting. It's changed. Initially, so this is a fascinating thing. I've only been writing songs since 2017, so that's 6-7 years, right? And I've only been playing since and recording since 2018. So in a sense, it's funny because it's hard for me to be seen by most people as an emerging artist. But I'm really at the same place where a lot of people in their 20s are in terms of my development. That said, I really dug in 2017 to sort of force myself. I'm going to write songs, or I'm going to fail miserably at it and then admit failure and walk away. And it worked out. I wrote 100 songs that year, and most of them were terrible. No, not most. Actually, a fair amount of them were pretty good, but a good third of them were just like, meh. But it was the learning experience of like doing it. So I actually would, if you're starting out, I recommend people write a lot of songs. Just write as many as you possibly can until you get the mechanics down of structure, rhyme scheme. In other words, until you don't have to think about that too much, you don't let the editor take charge and question your lyrics. So then you can get flow. And for me, the difficulty in the flow was always in the lyrics. That was the part that I've played guitar since I was 14. I can make music up all day long, but lyrics and putting lyrics and music together are a different thing. Composition is one thing, but composing a song is a sort of higher level task. And the poetry of it, I've always enjoyed good poetry, but I was always stopping myself. I'm one of those people for the longest time. Writing was a torturous experience, including in school. I was the person that took forever to write stuff, just to write a page. And now I found that after writing so many songs, my writing has improved. Mm-hmm. And my ability to just get to be clear in my communications has improved. Actually, it has improved other types of writing, which is cool. But yeah, it's with words for me at this point, and for the most part. And then, I will have music that's going through my head and that I've been doodling with, and then if it happens to be at the same time, I usually reason there must be a reason, and I will try and squish them together. And sometimes it works. So that's one process. But I sometimes, I think it changes from each time now. I'm now looking for more. Now, instead of just jumping in and writing anything, I'm looking for the good idea, a real good idea for a song or something I really need to say. And then, but a hook is a hook. So if it pops out at you, right, you got to go with the flow. That's the real thing. It's going with the flow was the hardest thing to learn for me. Mm.
And so you kind of alluded to the fact that you hadn't done a ton of co-writing before, but that was kind of a new thing that you were undertaking, and you said that you were surprised by, how that went. So how do you feel like that has been co-writing with other people, and how has that kind of made you view that process differently?
Well, the person who really taught me how to write songs is a fellow named Guy Henderson. He lives locally and he's a musician. He is extremely talented. And I started co-writing with him, but it was essentially back and forth. Here's some lyrics, here's some music, here's some, and it wasn't really in real time doing it. Occasionally we would do some brainstorming for ideas that way. We would create a list of brainstorming, but actual choosing words and music to go here, that was done on an individual level. And so I'd heard about co-writing, hear about it from the Nashville folks all the time, and how you got to be a good hang, and you got to do all this other stuff, and there's all this. And I just was like, man, I'm a socially awkward person. I can't see how this would work. What could it end up in fighting? Like, oh. And then I did it, and the first one was just a guy had some lyrics, and he wanted me to put it to blues music, and I did it, and that was fun. And it wasn't hard, but it was still similar to the first style. But the second time, it was with a real writer, and neither one of us, I was like, we need an idea, and I said, well, I've got this idea that's kicking around. It's just the phrase, late bloomers. And she wrote the most amazing set of lyrics. I knew I did get some input and have to add, there was some tweaks that I put in, but for the most part, it was her lyrics. She was a real writer, though. That's the thing, is someone who comes from a writing background, poetry and essays and things like that. And you could tell, but then so that was great. But then there was like, well, how do we put it to music? And we sat down and we worked it out together. And it's absolutely intricate and elaborate and beautiful sort of song. And I was just stunned by how easy it was to get along with this person, in a environment where you're questioning, where does this go? And we would say no. And we would both kind of like, no, you're right, okay. And how about this? We would try things, and I would see, where should this, well, it should go up here. Well, what chord will go with that note? And it was surprising how well it worked out. I was just shocked at how, and the same thing was true of the other, I worked with 3 different women, actually. It was interesting. The three songs that I chose for that were co-writes were all women co-writers. They all handled the lyric responsibility for the most part. And we worked together on the music. Although I had input in every case. I wrote the end verse of one of the songs, but it was all a lot. It was like you were afraid of something, and then you realize, oh, this isn't bad at all. It's not that hot, the water's not that, or the water's not that cold, or whatever it is. You're dreading something, and then you realize that was actually a really positive thing. I should have done this a long time ago.
Yeah, it can seem intimidating in the beginning, but it seems like you got a lot out of it, which is great.
Well, that's why I released an EP of it, because even though the songs could, they could be workshopped to death or whatever, they did have, the eyes of songwriting coaches on them already, and I think that they reflected things things that needed saying about it, and a lot of it is about songwriters. Late Bloomers is about people like me who are emerging artists in your 50s or 60s even. I mean, people forget that, Malvina Reynolds, who wrote Little Boxes, one of the greatest songs of the 20th century, she didn't go attend any songwriting classes until she was in her 40s or 50s. And then so, that's one of the songs. The other song is just called Sing a Song, and it was about, it was a wonderful narrative that the co-writer came up with, and it's all about, there was a common theme among the songwriters at the retreat of music being a healing factor in their life after trauma or depression or other, basically other hurtful things have happened to people. Everybody had something, and there was a lot of people at these retreats who are like, being in music is the thing that makes me happy. So that was a cool thing to honor. And then the other song that was on there is actually, unfortunately, one of the songwriting coaches from the Writing a Song That Matters retreats passed away last January, and so I wrote a song for him, and I put that on there as well. So the whole EP is dedicated to Writing a Song That Matters retreats and the whole co-writing experience and the song coaches and everything. I felt it was good to honor that, and I'm just sad, like this past year, I couldn't afford to go, so I'm dying to get more gigs and go and save us some money and go hang out with Dar and her coaches and all the fun people there. But it is cool because you can still meet, chat with everybody and talk online.
Yeah. I love it. Well, we would love to hear your first song. So what have you got?
Well, since it's been so long since I've been here, I got some catching up to do, and I have 5 EPs, so I can't do them all.
Yeah, you have almost too much material to
Well,
choose
you
from.
know,
What a problem.
It's still, yeah, this still the same too much material problem. So I'm going to do a song from the Liberty EP, and you might have, and it was actually released in 2021, but you might have thought it was written right in 2021, but it was actually written before January 6th. They don't like blacks and they don't like Jews. They don't like me and they don't like you. They don't like jazz and they just can't swing. They have so little knowledge, it's a dangerous thing. And they don't know nothing and they never did. And everything they do is what God forbid. Yes, God forbid everything they do. Jesus wouldn't like them and they haven't a clue. Oh, we did not see it coming, 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 the bigotry blues. They want respect, but they're disrespectful. They can't accept that they're not successful. They don't know what they're talking about, but that don't stop them screaming and shouting. They want war and they want it now. Hating everybody, why that's their sacred cow. I guess we should have known from the war drums drumming, but I swear I did not see it coming. We 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 did not see it coming. The bigotry blues. Oh, we did not see it coming. We did not see it coming. Look what we lose. We won't get to choose. We did not see it coming. The bigotry blues. We did not see it coming. The bigotry blues.
Jason Baker starting off the show with his first song. So obviously, what's that?
I gave you a question.
Oh, you gave me. Bob is over here saying that he gave me a question. Let's read my texts. Oh, this is what happens at the peanut gallery behind the mic. Well, we need to answer Bob's question because it's a burning question from over there to the right. What is the difference between a normal banjo and the long neck banjo?
All right. Great question. So, Pete Seeger learned the first banjo he learned on was the long, what would you consider a longer neck banjo, but a 4-string banjo called a plectrum banjo. And that's commonly played in Dixieland music, jazz bands. The 5-string banjo he learned when he went to a folk festival with his father, and he picked it up and just in love with it. But he wanted to play in different keys, and he wanted to play a lot of different types of music than just old-time music. He learned old-time music, obviously, and he modified the old-time stroke, which, you can see the kind of way that I was playing it was the mix of finger picking and strumming, a little sort of up picking, it's called. And he used that, but he wanted to play in different keys. And at one point, I think it was specifically for a song about the Spanish brigade fighting fascists, etc. He wanted to do this song in F. And so he took his banjo to his luthier in New York and said, cut the headstock off of this and then cut 3 frets off the neck of another banjo and just stick it on. And so now with a capo, he can go up and down from E to G to all the way up to A. In other words, he expanded the range of the banjo itself. And that's the main reason for it. Is to allow you to sing in different keys. And it's really much more of a folk singer's banjo in that regard than a bluegrass. Like, interestingly, the bluegrass banjo was invented with the resonator. That came about the same time. The bluegrass style of playing three finger rolls was invented in 1946, and Pete Seeger invented the long neck probably only a few years later. So, but he was primarily an old time player, though, before that, not a blue. Although he could do anything. That was the thing I learned. The main thing I learned in the year of that is that Pete Seeger would use any style of banjo playing to get the song across, and many times in the same song. And so that was actually the most eye-opening thing. Is you just do. He might start with very light finger picking. He might end up doing frailing, or what's called claw hammer, and then he might end up just what's called whamming, which is pretty much strumming it like it's a 12-string or something, which is the other instrument he mainly played. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's the difference. And it's considered America's third banjo, because it's not like even because they don't really consider the plectrum banjo and the tenor banjo as being American banjo. The 5-string is where it's at. So there's the answer there. And it is not, you can do any of the other things, but it's not accepted in bluegrass circles to play a long neck banjo in a bluegrass band typically. Okay, although there is a great bluegrass band in Vermont that does have a long neck player, and their name is Remember Baker, which I love because I'm from Jersey, and the guy who is named after was one of Ethan Allen. That's a name, actually. It's one of Ethan Allen's buddies, who was also known by the name Jersey Slick.
There you go.
And originally coming from Jersey,
I liked that.
I liked that for some reason. I just liked the idea of somebody being called Jersey Slick, for one thing.
Totally.
That's a great name.
So in terms of the themes of your songs, obviously you write a lot of political music. Do you feel like that type of music is kind of what you're leaning into for the new projects that you're working on as well, since it's, been an ongoing theme?
Well, it's just it is my brand, if you will. I do write other songs, and I have these things in my back pocket as ideas for EPs, and it's kind of hard. So this year I went with the idea of stepping away from strictly political songs, although it's still in there. With my latest EP, it's still. I managed. You'll see that's the last song. I managed to squeak it in. There's still the political diatribes are not going away. The misanthropic screeds are not going away. But I do I have tried to write more positive material, more fanciful material. But it is kind of the topical songwriting is kind of what I do. And so I am the reason to learn the banjo was to incorporate that in what I do, because people already, from the very beginning when I started writing, I just thought I was like modern singer-songwriter, but then the reviews were all like, in the tradition of Woody Guthrie and Pete Seeger, and it sounds like Leonard Cohen, his voice sounds like, I'm trying to remember that guy's name, Gordon Lightfoot, Canadian guys with deep voices or whatever, and that, but it was all older artists, all folk artists, and then other people in person would be like, your stuff sounds like it's 100 years old. and they meant it sometimes they meant it as a compliment and sometimes not. But I did remember something Bob Dylan said, which is, this guys that are doing stuff 100 years ago, that's the cool stuff. Now for him, that was the 1860s. Now it would be the 1920s. And I think, honestly, it is what a lot of the stuff I do sounds like. I do a lot of blues and jazz influenced material. That's true.
Yeah. So what is like the most recent next project that you're working on? Is it one of the more like folksy ones?
Oh, coming up?
Yeah.
So I think I feel the need to, these songs that I'm feeling burning need to get out there. And as topical songs, you do have to get them out there before their shelf life is completely. Right. So there are some songs, and I have question marks next to a couple of them. So that's what I feel I want to do next. But as I said, I have these other ideas in the back pocket. I have a whole idea for a album of an EP of songs about the sea, maritime, just songs with sea in the title basically, but maritime folk music. I have a thing of jazzy love songs. That's again a thought, but I'm not sure that's where I want to go, because I'm not sure anyone's interested. I know I have a burning desire for some of when the song, you're always in love with, songwriters are always in love with their latest stuff, and that's a problem. That's one of the things I also learned about, like, not to just, you can write a lot of stuff and you can be in love with it, but take your time, get some advice, get some feedback, make changes if you want, and don't be in a hurry to throw it out there, because you may be like, oh well, you may make a mistake, you may put something that was subpar out there. You don't really want to do that, but you mainly want good ideas and have it match the music in a nice way. So that's the goal. Right. But I'm part of this is incorporating the banjo into what I'm doing, and kind of naturally I wrote some songs on the banjo, and not surprisingly they came out as somewhat political in nature because of things that are going on. There was a song about the Middle East. There was a song about soldiers being immigrant people who are immigrants who became soldiers who were then deported. Like there's something that doesn't need to happen, and it's a story I wanted. It's a story that's tragic, and if anybody just looks at it, you could see that something's wrong. But yeah, it's I'm looking at reaching that goal of incorporating the banjo into the music. Not all the songs will be banjo, but it's looking like a lot of them will be, because I've been enjoying playing the banjo a lot, I must admit.
Well, you have to flex your new skills too. So
it's a really fun. This banjo I have is a very inexpensive instrument. I just want to point out that most long neck banjos are fairly expensive, but Gold Tone has just released this carbon fiber banjo. It's under $300. I would recommend it to anyone. My mentor just took his on tour to Australia and back. Europe. It's been in Europe, and he swears by it. It's got a great sound for such an inexpensive instrument. So, like, real kudos to Gold Tone. Wayne Rogers, the guy who's and his wife, they run the business. Really great thing. I'm so excited about it, actually, that I can hardly contain myself. I know I just talk about it.
That's a good thing, though. Well, we would love to hear another song from you. So, what do you have next for us?
Well, right. Might want to actually plug it in. That's helpful. Yeah,
what would we do without Bob?
Plug in the guitar in is a good idea, guys. All right, yep. So, yeah, in 2022, we had that's the thing, a lot of the stuff that goes on, it's hard to ignore. So that's why I write songs about it. Plus, I don't think anyone's really interested in my love life that much. Although, just to note, if you're really interested, the songs are there, but you got to look for them. So this is not about my love life. In 2022, the Russian nation invaded Ukraine. And in the opening days of the war, there was an airplane that was destroyed at the Kyiv airport. It was the largest airplane in the world, the Antonov An-225. And it had started its life hauling Soviet space shuttles. But the last 20 years of its life or more, it had been doing humanitarian missions. And so it would fly huge generators where the power needed, huge supplies of food and medicine where there was a crisis. So people would see it and they would have hope. And I thought it was a shame that it was destroyed. Its name was it was named the Maria, which means dream in Ukrainian. And actually, Vance Gilbert, who is a folk singer, he does a live stream, and he, is an aviation enthusiast as well. And he was holding up a picture of it and lamenting the destruction of this beautiful plane, and its humanitarian. Talked about its humanitarian mission. And it's not called the Dream of Peace, but he just said, he held up the picture and he said the Dream of Peace. And I thought, as an astute songwriter, I said that's the thing. You got to look for those little things that pop up. So this is a song that was inspired by that. This is called "The Dream of Peace." Once there was a dream of peace. It flew around the world. It dreamed itself in every heart. There a flag unfurled, a humble rag proclaiming love and peace for humankind. From heart to heart the dream flew on and left something behind. escaping the drums of war, yet left a grain in every heart, waiting for a door. And when the light is let to shine, the seeds of peace will grow. Sunflowers live in every heart, where love is free to flow. A dream of a world where sunflowers bloom. If we dream a dream of peace, we can make that dream come true. A dream of a world where sunflowers bloom. If we dream a dream of peace, we can make that dream come true. We can make that dream come true.
The Dream of Peace by Jason Baker. Thanks so much. So one other thing that I wanted to ask about was gigging. So I know that you had said, I believe it might have been off air, about how the past year you weren't playing as many gigs and how one of your goals for this upcoming year is to really start gigging again. So tell us some more about what that goal would be.
I just, 2022 had a fair amount of gigging going on it, but coming out of the pandemic, it's still not, up to things. I think the main goal for me is just to be seen and heard. To get out, just to be seen and heard. The point of this, me performing at all, is simply to highlight the songs. I consider myself primarily a songwriter first, a performer and a musician and performer second, and that's interesting to me. The performing is interesting to me, and learning how to do it has been fascinating. Learning all the other things that you have to learn that you don't want to learn has also been fascinating. How to do social media, how to do this, how to edit videos, how to take pictures, like things that have nothing to do with writing a song. So it's a difficult choice for me to initially to should I even spend my time doing this? It's a little, because it does. I do get royalties and gig money, but it's at best break even. It was going break even before the pandemic. I'll just say that. But now it's not. It's an expenditure. It's write off, but hey, it is what it is. It is a business. But that's been my goal would be to simply get out there and be heard, and actually to be. I think I want to be understood as an emerging artist, even at my age. I think I want people to sort of maybe I'll become the poster child of old people trying to reinvent themselves and stuff. This is my midlife crisis. Okay, I started writing songs, and it really was a good thing for me, emotionally, mentally, even physically, even keeping my the discipline of that sort of thing, or the discipline of being ready for gigs. You can't indulge in drinking or in drugs and food even. You have to be careful. You have to be careful what you eat. I've learned, you learn that the hard way. You don't want to bellyache the day of your gig. You don't want to, have to be canceling stuff. So you start to learn, doing these things starts to give you a focus. So that's good. But yeah, for me, it's all about, I want my songwriting to get out there, and I certainly hope that somewhere out there, there's some bunch of punk band or something, and somebody terrible too. I want somebody who's awful to cover my music, and so that they can get good, because then they can play the song 1,000 times, and then eventually, because that's how you get good. You get good by doing things, even if you're, that are new and different. So I would love it if somebody looked at especially if they looked at my old. My first album was a ridiculous thing. It was 22 songs. Absolutely ridiculous. No one's going to listen to that. But I've had people who tell me they did. And, other songwriters who said, a similar interview. The guy actually listened to my first album. And I'm like, you actually listened to it? The whole thing? And he said, yeah, it was a great album. He loved it. I think it would have been much better if I had cut 12 songs, perhaps. because then I would have the cream of the crop, and I think that's the next thing is to really make sure that the songs that I'm presenting are the best of what I've got, and to definitely not love everything that comes out of my pen. You know, not everything that you write. That's the biggest advice I give that I've learned is is to write as much as possible, and don't be precious about your songwriting, especially if someone points out something that's distracting to them or is odd. Take it to heart.
Right. Always new lessons to learn for sure.
There's no, well, the funny thing is there's no limit to where inspiration can come from for a song.
Yeah, totally.
It's just literally any two words in this room, you know. There you go, green ball. All right, what's a green ball? You know, and you just go from there. And that's, again, that was the hardest thing to learn, flow.
Yeah, well, there's certainly enough objects in this room to choose from.
Oh, yeah, it's very bright and colorful in this room for folks listening
it's
audio
like
only.
I Spy.
Yeah, you can I Spy any number of colors and shapes in this room, and yes, but anything can inspire a song. I was driving for work and I saw a bus. It was an old old school bus painted light blue, and it was in the back of this overgrown field. And I looked at it, and something struck me about it, because I'm like, how did it get back there? It's all overgrown, but it was clearly a hippie bus thing, and it was dilapidated, and what was weird is I was driving somewhere else for work just a few days later, and I saw another one. That was what made me do this.
It was a sign.
I saw it. It was definitely not the same one in another field, another blue bus, and I'm like, okay, something's telling me to write about a blue bus. So I wrote a song. I don't know what the song means. It's not necessary. It's no political content of it, so I don't know what it means. But it's really I can barely play it. It's so emotional, and I don't know why. So you never know where the thing is coming from. You never know where it's going to go. That's actually something I learned from Dar Williams. Is you got to let the song tell you what it wants. You know, you got to tell you a bit about what it's doing. Just kind of go with it and see where it leads you. Where did you really go?
Right.
So I must admit, I write some songs, and if they're more personal, emotional stuff, or about personal liberation or whatever, I frequently don't recognize what I've written until I've recorded it and put it out. So the songs I've written in this interim since I've been here, Liberty, and I've Come to Set You Free, turns out they're about me, not about someone else. You know, and they're about my relationships, and it turns out, you know, but I didn't know it until I finished the song and put it out. I played them live before I was like, oh, that's about me.
Epiphany moments.
Duh. Well, it's kind of duh, like, oh,
yeah.
What was I, because the song has double meanings, but you can interpret it different ways, but how did I not know?
Trapped in your psyche, I suppose.
It is, yeah, well, that proof that happens, that, you know, you don't necessarily, that if you let it flow, that you don't necessarily aren't in control of the message that you have now sent. I kind of wish was in more, you know, that's why the editing. So that's,
right.
But it is kind of cool to realize I did a song that's good on its own, even the way I interpreted it, but you could also look at it this way. Mm-hmm. And that's actually a nice feeling, I think.
Yeah. Well, we would love to hear your next song. So what will be your third one tonight?
Well, the Dream of Peace was a really positive, upbeat album. It was released in the spring. So naturally, in the fall of 2022, I released this album of real downers. No kidding. It was just I don't know why it was, but these songs really struck me as being important to say. So this one was actually it was a runner-up in the Songs for Social Change 2022 contest run by the Renaissance Artists and Writers Association. And that's the second time I've been a runner-up for that contest. I just want to know, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Anyway, this song is a bit serious, so a little trigger warning for anyone listening or watching about violent imagery in the song. But given what was going on all throughout 2022, just give me a moment. I'm going to clear my throat there, and I didn't want to do it in the mic. A little bit of harmonica in this. Bring that up a little. There. This is called It Doesn't Go Away. child turns to her mom, asking where they're going. Mom walks quickly with 2 kids, says, I have no way of knowing. She holds both of their hands and urges them to hurry, hurry. She cannot hide her fear, her face a mask of worry. And that's when artillery comes whistling down, and there 3 bodies lie still on the ground. It doesn't go away because you look away. Speak out loud the names of those who died today. It doesn't mean a thing when you just think or pray. It doesn't go away because you look away. A child gives a kiss to dad. I love you, see you later. Having fun, learning maps, and finding the equator. But a stranger comes into the school, carrying a gun. A gun. And in one screaming second that no one could outrun, that's when the children all fall down, and there they are in pieces and blood on the ground. And it doesn't go away because you look away. Speak out loud the names of those who died today. It doesn't mean a thing when you just think or pray. It doesn't go away because you look away. Bullets fly, a child dies, a mother cries or lies beside. Don't be surprised what this implies. Let the scales fall from your eyes. It doesn't go away because you look away. Speak out loud the names of those who died today. It doesn't mean a thing when you just think or pray. It doesn't go away because you look away. It doesn't go away because you look away. It doesn't go away.
Jason Baker there. Well, we are coming to the end of the show, but before we do, please tell everyone how we can support you, promote yourself, and share your upcoming gigs with everyone.
All right. Where did I put that? Oh. Well, you can find all my stuff online first at jbakervt.com or at Reverb Nation or at anywhere you stream music, honestly. We have good distribution, so if you want to hear my stuff, go ahead and stream it. I don't print CDs anymore. I will not. They're an environmental nightmare, and I don't care to. But if folks want to help me out, they can stream stuff. They can download, and they can mostly share. I think that's the most important thing for me this year is for people to learn about my music and share it with others if they like it. So that would be the first thing. I do have some engagements coming up. On February 6th, I'll be at the Venetian Soda Lounge for the Songwriters Contest. And I hope folks can come out and support all of us, but give me a little special cheer. Thank you. On March 1st, I'm doing a show with Andriana Shabat and Dylan Ward at Despacito. On the 21st of April, that weekend is going to be the New England Folk Festival in Marlborough, Massachusetts. So that's the 19th, 20th, and 21st. On the 21st, I'll be leading a hootenanny sing-along and doing a long neck banjo workshop in the afternoon. And I'm planning on also attending an industry conference called the Southeast Regional Folk Alliance Conference, and hopefully I'll get some showcase opportunities there. That'll be in May. So anybody who's who's listening online from North Carolina, it's in Black Mountain, North Carolina, and that's actually a cool thing it's totally cool, even though it's an industry conference, it's totally cool for fans to come, buy a pass, and come and see all this great music that happens, all these jams and things that happen. And then May 18th, I'm going to be at Harry's Hardware in Cabot, which I don't know if you ever played there. It is quite a treat to play next to feed bags and stuff. It is New England's only bar in a hardware store, and but it is also an excellent. They stick with Vermont only beverages, and they have some pretty cool flatbread pizzas, and it's also a hardware store, so it's kind of cool. I had a gig there with Folk Talk Trio, and Rick's banjo broke, and I was able to go into the back and grab a wing nut and fix his banjo. So
wow, I love that. Well, you have time for one final song, so what are you playing us out with?
Let me get this plugged in. I released, after doing this year-long thing with Rick, I released an album of traditional songs, but I did take one of those traditional songs. I did an extra song, and I wanted to do my thing, you know. And since it's in the spirit of Woody Guthrie and that sort of thing, Woody stole a lot of melodies and repurposed them. My favorite was that he wrote a song about Jesus Christ, and he used it was called Jesus Christ, and he used the melody from the Jesse James. Well, this is a song, the original song is a Western song about remembrance, and I wanted to remember this person who died in August of this year because she was flying a rainbow flag outside of her store. This is in California. And her name is Lauri Carleton. And I want people to remember her name because everyone just called her that lady who got shot because flying a rainbow flag. And I said, no, she has a name. Her name is Lauri Carleton. So this is called Ally, and then subtitled The Ballad of Lauri Carleton. An ally who stood up for you and for me. She died for flying rainbow colors and standing for equality. Lauri Carleton was a mother, an artist, and a shop owner too. She devoted her life to finding beauty and sharing it with me and with you. Lauri Carleton did not take her flag down. She wanted for everyone to see her support for equal rights for every person, and her love for all of humanity. So let's remember Lauri Carleton, one of the free and the brave. Let's remember our ally Lauri Carleton, and not the gunman who laid her in a grave. Lauri Carleton was an ally who stood up for you and for me. She died of flying rainbow colors and standing for equality. Lauri Carleton was an ally.
Jason Baker, thank you so much for coming in tonight.
Thank you, Abby. It's been a pleasure speaking with you this evening and playing for you.
Well, you'll have to come back once you release all of these new songs, and I'm sure you'll have a bunch of new ones by the next time you're in here.
That's my hope.
Yes.
Keep on writing.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming, and listeners, thanks for tuning in. This has been Rocket Shop Radio Hour. I'm your host, Abby BK. Next week we have Remy Russin, so be sure to tune in. But this has been Rocket Shop. I hope you have a great night, and we'll see you next time.
Woohoo! Thank you, guys. Well.